Okay, let's see if this thing is working. It says it's recording in the corner. And hey, look at here.
Can you see me?
Yes, I can. I'm not gonna say, can you see me back?
No, of course not. No, I had to wrap up in. I know I'm not dressed to perfect, but I was cold this morning. It's 48. It was 48 degrees at 7 o'clock this morning, girl.
And my dear friend that I love, I'm sitting here in my pajamas. So let us discuss early morning Zoom, and let's learn how to do this thing.
I know, right? Hey, how did you like my first episode?
I loved it so much. I woke up this morning and I started checking everything, and I got on Twitter, and I'm like, look at that sneaky friend of mine, and you posted it, and I woke up and I'm going, oh my gosh, I can't wait to listen. And I went boom and started, and I was like, that's my woman.
How did you like that? I love that music I used. It's a, I don't remember what the title of it is, but it's a calm harp type thing. I loved it.
I like it too. It's perfect. And you were just so natural. It was just like you and I talking on the phone.
I know, but I was a little nervous, I'm telling you.
I don't think you should be.
But after I did it, I'm telling you, I was so excited.
Well, I think that you challenging me with this Zoom situation is amazing. And so if you say I helped you get on the Anchor podcast a bit, now you're taking me to the next level and getting me on Zoom and us figuring this out together.
Hey, I'm telling you, I was going, when I, last night after I did it, when we got on Zoom, I was going to be like, girl, I got to tell you. You saw it.
Yeah, I already saw it. When I clicked on it, and then I retweeted it out, and I was like,
I saw that.
And I was like, I'm so proud of you.
I saw that, and I've got 2 plays, you and somebody else. I don't know who yet, but I got to figure out how to put it out on all the platforms. I'm not going to sponsor it yet until I get more comfortable with it.
Well, I think that it's just a growing process. Anytime we try anything new, like with the Zoom, we're sitting here recording ourselves right now on not only audio, but video. That is a huge step.
Yeah. Are you actually recording right now, or is it just?
I'm recording.
Oh, okay. So welcome to our official podcast, folks. This is a dual episode. We're just starting, like I said, like I titled mine, Zoom Test and Fun Stuff.
Yeah. I mean, to me, this is about what it is, like us learning together, us challenging each other. And
I know.
You giving me the boldness to get out there and do the video for this podcast. Like, I have been hiding and giving so many excuses as to why I'm not podcasting on YouTube. And today is the day we're going to show up on YouTube and look at us.
I know. I'm going to do a blog post about that with that first episode embedded, linked in it, because, and I'm going to do, the reason I wanted I've got your podcast URL. If you can send me the link to your Amazon author page too, I'm going to do a brief little show notes thing with all the links in it for the blog post. And I would suggest you do that too, because you got my links. I would suggest you do that too. That way people on your blog, because you've got over 2,000 followers, that can mean more listeners.
I know. And so yesterday you sent me that text and you're like, put the URL in there. And I look at the boys and Eli, we were out eating Mexican, and I'm like, guys, Ian is challenging me. I'm like, why haven't I ever thought of this before? I'm like, that's why we should surround ourselves with a writer community.
Exactly.
With other authors, because we learn so much from each other. And then you'll say something, I'm like, duh, why haven't I done that?
I know, and then you'll say something on your podcast or something, and I'm like, duh. And when you started talking about researching for events to market, I'm going to tell you, the Holy Spirit was working with me. And I had to go back and listen to it again because I cried.
You cried because you've been hiding too, just like me.
Yes.
We got to quit hiding. Let's just quit hiding. Let's just quit hiding.
Yeah.
In your podcast today, well, last night when you wrote it and read it, today when I listened to it, you said we've got to not only write, but share our voice and show ourselves.
That was unscripted.
So that's the Holy Spirit calling us both out, going, show yourself.
That was so unscripted. I've got to write my ads for like Electric Eclectic, my Journey of Faith, and I'm going to do an ad for my featured book of the week column on my blog too.
That's cool. Yeah. It took me probably 200 plus episodes before my 16-year-old Solomon, who I often talk about Solomon and Sam, Solomon goes, Mama, why haven't you said, find me on the Amazon? Why haven't you made an ad yet? And I'm like, I don't know. I haven't thought about it. He was like, well, you really need to do that. I listen to podcasts all the time. They're always pulling people to their sites. He was like, Mama, that's what people do. So here I go, listening to my 16-year-old. I mean, it's like you said, it's like you got to do this first. You got to get yourself out there. Then you got to build on it. Then you've got to grow. And I think that that's the natural process of any type of learning experience.
Yeah. It is. And let me tell you something. I don't know if this had anything to do with this, but the other night, Friday night, Saturday morning sometime, I had this weird dream. I was texting you about it, and I was going to tell you about it. I was on an airplane.
And you had the shorter flights?
Yeah. It was like I fly there, fly back. I'd walk somewhere. I don't even know where we were walking to, but the seats were more comfortable. My daughter was sitting next to me, and then this other lady across the aisle was talking to me about something about writing. And then there for a second, I was on the Greyhound bus seat. It's like, I don't know why. I don't know what that meant, but the airplane was the important element of the dream. And I'm like, okay, what does this mean, Lord? You know?
Did God reveal it to you yet?
No.
I wondered if Anchor is your airplane.
You know what? I wonder that too. And I journaled about that. That may be.
And I'm wondering if you have a shorter flight because nobody probably listens to my long, extensive, long-winded podcast. And maybe the Holy Spirit is telling you, maybe you should do the short and the sweet version.
I don't know about that. I think maybe, I don't know about that much, but I think you're right about Anchor being the airplane.
Yeah.
And the short, sweet was maybe for the first episode.
Yeah, to get yourself out there too, and to understand the editing tools. Now, I think out of the different podcasts, like I've been looking at them before I picked Anchor, I think Anchor is the easiest one for me to use because I'm not tech savvy.
Well, I'm not tech savvy either, but I cannot record messages to you because with voiceover, I got on your podcast because you're on my favorites, and there's a record button and a message button. I double tap both of them, and neither one of them worked.
Huh, did you? Okay, so I practiced it and I sent you a message through there last night. Did you get it? Did it work?
I got it, but I couldn't send you one back.
And
it's because it's an accessibility issue. That, and I mentioned that on the podcast, but I did figure out there is an unlabeled button to the left of the listen button when I use voiceover.
Okay.
That button, I found the record button to add new segments. And I found invite to record. I didn't call anybody, but I did test that out. So that does work.
Well, yeah. So the thing that I've had problems with Anchor is that when it's time to invite somebody in, if you're just using Anchor, if they don't set their microphones and say, I don't even know what it shows up because it was such a long time ago when I did it. But it's like you have to actually hit accept, or it's not going to record anything. It'll show that the other person is sitting there with you. You'll hear this little beep sound. You'll know that a new person has joined the podcast. But if they don't hit enable microphone, they're going to be sitting there all day. And then we have to stop. We have to pull back up, stop, pull back up. So I've had quite a few connection problems with Anchor, just getting people on to actually start the conversation.
Yeah, and they probably don't know that you gotta allow your microphone.
So that's my fault, because what I did is I made an intro video that said, how do we join a call on Anchor? And I failed to talk about that because the step was like far removed, like in the back of my mind. And so I've got to go back in and create a brand new tutorial video for
You may
everyone.
want to do that as a podcast too.
I should, and I should do the podcast, and I should do the YouTube video again. I got to update it.
Or maybe do the video and download it, and then
see, there you go. Yeah, you're right.
like you did with the yeah, exactly. I got your interview that you did with me. I got that. Like I said, I may not even do that today. I may do that tomorrow. So that way I'm not clogging the podcast up with episodes.
So what I learned is that the video files are so long, and so I couldn't put it as an attachment. I had to put it into Google as a link, but you still got it?
Yeah, I was able to get it from Google Drive, which which is kind of interesting because like PDFs, I was having trouble viewing the PDF from Google Drive that you put on Facebook, but I was able to get the audio and download it. And
okay, good.
I have it, I have a folder now, even if it's in my documents right now, and I may wind up moving that audio folder anyway, that audio file anyway, but I have the folder that says podcast info.
Well, hopefully this one's recording, since this is the first time we're doing it.
Hold on, let me see.
It would be crazy. Hey, you know what though? If it's not recording and we're flubbing it and it's all messed up, at least I know that we're trying, and we're at least getting to talk this morning in our pajamas. I don't know. I see them.
No, it's not recording. Hold on. You want me to record it?
Yep.
All right. Ready?
Yep. Go ahead and try it.
Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Let's see. Hold on.
So we are learning Zoom, and we're figuring out how to record. So in my left-hand corner,
it says please request recording permission from the host, and you may have to go down and click the record button.
Okay, it's showing that I'm recording it. I'm wondering if because it says recording in the left-hand screen of mine. I'm wondering if I've been recording it the whole time as the host, and then I can share it with you, and then you can put it on your YouTube.
Probably, because you're the meeting host.
So guys, if you are just catching us, we're trying to learn how to Zoom podcast all at the same time. And by us doing this, hopefully it's going to inspire you to get out there and share your voice and get on Zoom and not hide. And
exactly.
So how many videos have you made?
Me?
Yeah.
I did like 3, I think 2 or 3 when I was in college. I haven't done a lot of videos because I would need help with doing the video itself, because me being blind, I don't know if, I'd have to know if the camera's aimed right and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I've got like 3 videos, I think, on my YouTube.
Well, now's the time to not worry, I guess, about the video, because where you're sitting right now, I can see you clearly.
Okay, good.
Mine is probably angled up and crazy looking. I'm telling you, the videos that I made, I had people, one time this lady, she messaged me and she said, you realize you're holding your phone wrong, and that's why you've got all these black lines on the sides. Can you please turn your phone for all of your future videos? And I'm like, oh my gosh, is that why? I had no clue. Like the tech parts for me.
Wow.
I'm like, look, I'm out there, I'm trying, give me a break, thanks for the help. And then I turned my phone, and then I made a video this morning and I forgot to turn it the way that she told me. So I still forget stuff.
Yeah, are you using your laptop or your phone to do the Zoom?
Well, I'm using my laptop for this one, even though I did download the Zoom app on my phone. The reason why is because I don't have a phone stand yet. Like those $15 phone stands.
Why don't you get a pop socket?
What's that? See, that's why I surround myself with brilliant people.
Because my daughter was the one told me about it. They're like, I think $5 or $10. and you put it, it has the adhesive on the back. You put it on the back of your phone, and then you can extend it out and stand your phone up sideways in like the landscape setting.
Pop socket.
Yes. Hold on.
I'm Googling this thing. See now, guys, if you stick around with me and Ann's going to give us all kinds of things that we need to go out and do.
You see?
Okay, my students have that mess on their phone, and I never knew what that junk was. I thought it was like a hand grip or something.
No.
Oh, wait, your audio's gone.
What?
Oh, there you go. I couldn't hear what you said. It was mumbling. Yeah, it's mumbling. It sounds like you're underwater. Sounds like you're in a fish tank. Maybe it's because where you're standing.
Hold on.
So pop socket. Keep talking to me.
Is that better? Is it maybe the internet connection? I don't know why it's doing that. The wind's blowing.
There you go. You're very clear where you're sitting right there. Maybe it's just where your microphone's positioned on your computer.
Probably. But yeah, like I was, and it may have been because the wind's blowing, it might have messed up the Wi-Fi.
Okay, so pop socket. Guys, let's learn from Ann today. Ann, give us your wisdom.
Yep. My daughter was the one that was telling me she wanted one for her tablet. It's too heavy for tablets, but for iPhone, or for any kind of phone,
okay, when you walk away, like everything goes.
Oh, sorry.
There we go. I hear you back.
Sorry, I was putting my phone back. I was putting my phone back going off at me while we were talking. But no, the pop socket actually does help. My daughter uses it. And what you can do too while you're on the phone, you can pull it out and you can put like 2 fingers, one on each side of it, and it'll help keep it from sliding out of your hands too.
Right. Yeah, that's why I decided to use the computer today for our first Zoom, because I do the podcast on my computer too, like when I'm recording, and I'm going to also practice like shared screens and see if I can do some things like that for YouTube, so I can get like fancy one day. Who knows? You know how you can see them where they'll show like a resource and they'll research and they'll pull things up.
Yeah.
Yeah. One day I want us to try something like that. Today I just want to make sure this thing's recorded.
I know.
Let's see if we can get it to work. So what led you to the like how long have you been listening to podcasts, Ann?
I've been listening since February, I think. I found you on Twitter and I found a link to your podcast or something about your podcast, and then I looked on Overcast, which is my podcatcher that I listen to most of my podcasts on, because not everything's on Anchor. So, and I found you on Overcast, and I'm like, you know what? And I prayed about it. And when Tanya said, let's see what she will be led by the Holy Spirit to talk about today, I'm like, oh my gosh,
yes,
this is where I need to be.
Yes. And I know the thing that's funny about Tanya is that one day Tanya came to work and she had a bird as an image. It shows up as her profile picture, and she doesn't know where the bird came from. And I'm like, are you kidding me? She was like, no, where did this bird? It's just random on my phone. And I was like, that's the Lord telling you we're just like birds. We're like his messengers. And so that's where like some of that behind the scenes stuff in the intro, that was the exact day that I wrote the intro. That's where she's the bird singing the song. It's joking that conversation Tanya and I had about her crazy profile picture turned out to be a bird. And she honestly did not upload it into her phone. So she has crazy stuff that happens all the time. I love her dearly. But before my podcast, you were podcast listening to everybody under the sun. A lot
of people. I started listening last year.
Yeah. And so when you talked to me in your interview, you were like, I think I might want a podcast one day.
Yeah, I was praying about it, and the idea came to me, why don't I share people's inspirational journeys? Because people have a story to tell. And I love the conversational side of podcasting. Now, there was one podcast I got rid of, which was Print Run, because when they started talking about the London Book Fair, I got bored quickly. And I'm like, you know what? This is agents talking agent business. No.
But you like listening to stories. You like listening to the author inspiration, how they got their start.
Yes.
Yeah.
Even authors, entrepreneurs. That's why I like the Author Stories podcast with Hank Garner. And he's the one that gave me the idea for the blog post because that's what he does with his show.
So I have seen people when they take on Instagram. So I learned that on Instagram, the links don't work unless you're in the bio. I got to research more about it if I can. I don't think there's a bypass way for that. But I've got some podcasters on Instagram that do MMA, UFC. They got like some different fighters on there. And they have the coolest website, and it shows all of that stuff embedded. And you told me that yesterday. Even though I've seen models, I've never tried it myself.
Because if you put a YouTube video up on your blog post, or you put your link to your Amazon page, your books on Amazon, it will embed like a sample link, a buy button.
I've done the Amazon links in the past, but I haven't done the podcast embedding where it shows like the actual toolbar. Like that's what I want to learn how to do. Like
when you do that with WordPress, when you put a long link up there with WordPress will embed the little player. So you can play it right there on the site. It does that for YouTube too. Like when I've done my Dan Seals song videos for podcasts, like with A Good Rain and The Banker.
Right.
Podcast, it embedded the YouTube link. It embedded the player.
So are you going to use your podcast? So your podcast focus, you're going to do author interviews, entrepreneur interviews.
Right. I'm going to do special episodes with tips. One of the things I want to talk about is character development. So I'm going to register for that Readsy course to do that and take notes on that. Because I really want to talk about that. I want to talk about how I got started as a writer. I don't want to go into the emotional abuse side too much because I don't want to, I don't want to do that negative connotation.
Right.
I will mention it briefly. Should I mention the fact that I thought about the fact that I turned to Dan Seals' music for healing and comfort and inspiration like I did on my blog?
Right.
I think I should because I think, God led me to his music for a reason.
I wonder too, like with the podcast, with the interviews, should you also share some of that wonderful poetry you've been writing this month?
That's what I'm thinking too.
Like, are you going to do some excerpts? Are you going to do some readings? Are you going to do some things like that?
I don't know because with the Braille display, it's a little bit more
tricky.
It's a little tricky, but I mean, if I get practice and I memorize some stuff, I might do a little bit. I don't know though, because I'm not the best reader. I don't read out loud very well.
I'm not a good memorizer. I can't memorize. And like the people back home, when they would ask me to sing in church, I couldn't even memorize the lyrics. I had to carry up the sheet with all the lyrics on it while I'm singing. Does,
except me. I listen when our choir director is up there, standing there practicing, or practicing with us when we're sitting on the pews, or when we're up there in the choir and he's standing in front of us singing with us. I listen to him and I listen to other people around me. Try to get the words as much as I can. And then if it's a song that I know is recorded, I'll use, and I'm not going to say her name because she will go off. Let's just say Lexi. I'll tell Lexi to play that certain hymn on Amazon Music a few times to kind of get the words down if I know that it's recorded. So even if it's not recorded in the same arrangement that we use, it's still the same song. So I'll do that, and half the time I'll get the song stuck in my head.
Yeah. I maybe the nervous thing. I know that podcasting for me is not scripted. Like I just get on and talk. You can tell that on my morning drive to work. Like I just feel like the Holy Spirit will give us what we need to say to help inspire somebody, for them to try something new, for them to take a challenge. And none of it's scripted at all.
I don't want it to be scripted because when it's scripted, it's stilted.
Yeah,
it's dodgy, and I'm like, no, I don't want that. But
I do think having the framework for the questions is good as a way, as just a guide to let the other person know these are some topics that we may cover. But
That's why I called it baseline questions. What did you think of my framework, by the way?
I really liked it. And it was very conversational, even in the way that you presented the material. So, yeah, I think you got it clear, put it across there for anybody that's going to be reading it, that they know what it's all about.
Yeah, I used yours as a baseline model, but then I went into my podcast planner and I went through the interview questions, and that one about if you could have a conversation with anyone. Yeah. That one actually, that I was telling you about, when Charles on her Ask When podcast, she asks that same question in a different way.
I love that question though.
Yeah, because I wrote a blog post about it. I would love to have had coffee or tea with Dan Seals and told him how his music inspired me.
Right. Yeah. I'm trying to, like, of all the people, I would probably, that's a tough one though. That's why that one is good for somebody to think about.
Yeah, you don't have to answer that now.
Like, of course, so that's why it's good that it's in that list instead of like springing it on somebody, because then I would go like, well, I would want to have tea with Jesus. I would want to see my mom and daddy.
That too. I mean, every Christian.
Yeah. I want to see my mama. I want to see my mama and daddy again. Like, I think about like all of, people.
I would want to see Mima and Papa. I'd want to see my Uncle Junior. That my Uncle Ronnie, who I remember as a kid. Ooh, girl.
But it's good to have those kind of questions, so that way if you are having them to say a question, like to answer a question that's going to bring back a memory, then they're prepared for that.
Yeah.
They
don't have to answer that question, and like I said, some of that I may put optional there. I mean, I'll ask the question, and if they don't feel comfortable, that's fine. But
I think optional is good, because like even today I received an email back that said, after reviewing your framework, you're a Christian podcast. I'm sorry that I'm not going to be able to be on your show. And I did include optional on the prayer in the Bible verse piece. I saw how you wrote that. But I think that having optional, there, they can have the opportunity to email and say, well, maybe I don't like this question. Maybe if you ask me about this, like what I'm specifically working on at the moment, or things that I have coming up in the future. I think those are really good questions, because I think authors, we're always crafting and thinking and planning ahead and having something in the works 2 or 3 books down the road. Sometimes that can be our downfall, that we got so much that we want to write at one time. So
yeah, I know. But girl, I don't know if you believe in angels coming to people, but
yes.
Oh my gosh.
So
I don't know if our listeners believe in it. I've got to tell you something later.
Okay. Oh, later. She always does the hook. I got to tell you something later.
I'm going to say it now, but with all the listeners, you don't know who believes in what, and I don't want to make people think I'm crazy.
See, that's the thing. Let the Holy Spirit lead that thing. But
I know, that's why I said later, because I knew that not everybody, and the Holy Spirit's like, okay, you can tell her.
Yes.
But not in public. So, yeah.
So podcasting, for those of you that, let's go back to like talking about what led you to challenge me for Zoom. Where did this Zoom thing come from? Because Ann, that this is scary for me.
Well, the thing is, I don't know how to do Skype, and I'm challenging myself too, because with the Hadley School for the Blind has this writer circle that I join. They have it every month. Some months I forget to join it. They started with Take It Out with a technical thing. So when I started joining the discussions, I'm like, okay, they use Zoom. So why don't I try to use it for the podcast? And then you're the one that told me you can download the video and upload it to Anchor as the audio.
Well, we're going to try it. My friend and I tried it in my office. We tried, and it worked for us. And I'm like, okay, we're going to try it. So, and I'm hoping this is working. If not, we've had a good conversation.
Yeah, we have.
I'm like, that's the thing. The word challenge helps me.
It does me too. It does me too. Because when you started throwing out the challenges, let's just say I got some. I was gonna say I can't do this. I'm not a poet.
Yes, you are. Yes, you
Yeah,
are.
but I've got to tell you, you're gonna be like, okay, you got an encourager.
But it's true though. You've got
God has sent you somebody to encourage you. Yeah, I've got some spiritual experiences. I don't share with everybody.
But you know that with poetry, that to me, that's the in and the out of the writing day. Like if I'm really busy and I still have that itching and urge to write, writing poetry does that for me. It still gives me that outlet, but I don't have to be right in the middle of writing a novel.
Yeah.
But I'm still writing.
I don't know if you can hear that. My phone's
No.
okay, my phone, on Twitter, I have this. I was added to a group after being interviewed by another author.
Well, aren't you fancy?
I'm not fancy. We're just a group of the person who set up the group now calls us a group of weirdos.
Hey, that's okay. I think we all have. I texted my best friend. So I told you the story about my best friend's, my Tanya set. My best friend Tanya that I grew up with, that's my closest friend in the entire universe and will always be my best friend forever.
Yeah.
Last night we were texting about we can't be around non-weird people. It's like it just doesn't work. Like
we're a group of weirdos, right?
Might as well. Let's own it.
Writers can get away with it though.
I think we're just. I don't know. I would love to have a shirt.
We can get away with that as long as we don't let it enter into our daily, our daily interactions with other people. We can get away with it.
I don't know. I was really weird yesterday in the middle of Kohl's, and the boy's face, they turned bright red. It was hilarious. We got up to the register, and the woman and I started going back and forth, and we were rhyming. And she was like, "You're rhyming." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm a poet. You didn't know it." And the boys got so embarrassed. Their faces turned bright red. I was embarrassing them in the middle of Kohl's, and we had the best conversation with this lady who was ringing us up. And I'm like, "Guys, listen, y'all got to get used to mama by now. Like, come on. You're 16, you're 11. You've been around this weird woman long enough." And I think that's what the podcast is letting me do. The podcast is letting me be more vocal, letting me, I think it helps me to get out of my comfort zone.
Oh, yeah. It's helping me to get out of my comfort zone, too.
So go ahead.
Believe you me, this is not something, because I was getting frustrated with the app because I couldn't figure things out, and I was going to give up on it. And of course, I get this. Why don't you try this? Why don't you try it again? You can do this.
Yeah.
Of course. And then of course I'm like, okay, I can't record a voice message, but now if somebody sends me a message, I can, like with a question, I can add it to the podcast.
Yeah, that's why I say, so email me or, do that, because then you can always download it. You can get around it.
Yeah.
You can get around it. I know that with yours, you were like a pro. How long did it take you to put it together? Because it was like you were a pro.
I started it, I've been working on it all weekend. Really, I started it earlier today. The first one, I did the intro and exit on the computer, and you can't add music. The intro and the welcome and listener challenge, you can't add music on the computer. At least I hadn't figured out how.
So you did that on your phone?
I did that one on my phone because I did that first one and it kind of saved it as a draft, and then I just built the episode from there.
But to me, it was like, boom, it was done. You got it, and it's up there. It's for the world to see and hear.
I know. I listened to it to make sure that it was what I made sure the episode, because I've even figured out how to arrange the different segments so that they're in the right place.
Oh, so see, that is easy then. So you've got it all figured out now.
Well, not all of it, but I'm getting there.
And when you start getting sponsors, then you'll add the sponsor segment, and you'll start getting paid for sponsorships.
Yeah, but I'm gonna add my own little ads in there too. I'm gonna see if we'll get on Facebook and go to the Electric Eclectic authors group and see if I may email Paul and see if he has a specific ad he wants me to use.
That's cool, because then you can help promote.
Yes, that's the point. I want to do it. And then I had to shorten my Journey of Faith blurb for Lulu, but a friend of mine is actually going to get it up there for me. Haven't gotten the attached file from Lulu yet, but she's going to get it up there for me, and I don't think I'm going to want anything changed, but I'm going to go ahead and have her hit publish, because I think everything should be as it is, because once I've got the manuscript file, the cover files, once I send it to her, of course I'm going to have to pay her for it, but once I sent it to her, she's doing all the other stuff for me. So now once it's up in Lulu, I've got an ISBN. Now it's going to be in the bookstores, so I can start scheduling that stuff too.
Yeah.
And now I don't have to start keeping a more consistent calendar.
Yes.
I was not doing that because I was just writing and doing social media, but now with the podcast,
calendar's key.
I might have to keep a calendar. I'm going to have a block out some time for writing.
Mm-hmm. The calendar is key for me because it sends me notifications too.
Yes, I've noticed that. You'll be in Outlook or whatever, and you'll do and I'll get this ding, ding, ding.
You've got this coming up. That way you don't miss something that you've said, because I get caught up. Like I will get caught up making something, like making an image on Canva, or I'll get caught up reading an article. Next thing I know, 30 minutes has gone away. And so the calendar really helps me. But when you need the calendar, so that way when you're planning your podcast interviews, here's what happened with me. There was one week where I did 3 podcast interviews in a week. By the end of the week, I was completely worn down and exhausted. And I realized that I put too much on myself. Now, you might be able to handle more than me.
Because I'm not working full time right now. Writing is this is my only career right now.
So it's just based on your time commitment.
Right.
Because what I found, first I have to read the material that the person, I have to read their work, so that way I can actually have an intelligent conversation about what they've done, and then I can share what I love about their book and what I found, relevant for the listeners, and without trying to spoil everything. So I'm having to read the material, then I'm having to research the person, I'm having to get on all of their sites, I'm going for background. That way, if I'm in the middle of the interview and then there's something that I've researched, I saw that on your blog, or I saw that on Twitter, I see how you're working Twitter, tell how you're building this. So I'm having to research all that. I was like worn out that week when I was doing multiple people.
You know what? You don't have to put those out right after they're done. You can schedule those to go out. If you do like the 3 interviews in a week, or you can schedule those to go out later on, so you don't have to try to put them all out the same day.
Yeah, a podcaster emailed me and was like, "How do you do them daily?" Because he told me he rented a booth and he was like, I do 5 podcasts on a Saturday and then I schedule them out. And I'm like, I feel like I just do them like right then on the fly, and then I put them out. I got an email from one of the people that I interviewed, and they're like, wow, that was fast. I can't believe you got the link up that fast. I wasn't ready to even promote it. So I think maybe other podcasters don't return it as fast as I do. But I just feel like with my time, I need to go ahead and just send it out there to the world on point, like right then. Are you going to schedule yours out?
Well, the first one I'm not, unless she wants me to, because it's one of our Electric Eclectic authors, and she's from Greece, so I'm having to schedule it. Like I've scheduled it 10 o'clock on Thursday morning. But see, she's launching her book, and then another one. There's 2 people launching. They're doing 2 different versions of the same book, so I'm gonna do a featured book of the week for Karen J. Mossman because she doesn't like doing interviews, but Karina Cantus, she wants to come on the show and talk about her book. I don't read erotica. She writes hers like that. But
Right.
I'll let her tell about what her book is about, but we'll talk about her other author services too because she does do other author services, and maybe I can have her throw in some tips.
Yeah, I think that that's really important for podcasters, like to understand that if we have someone on our show, they could be of many religious backgrounds, they could be of, just they write different from us, but they have a story to tell. And they have valuable information to share with us and to respect, all people, and to have them on the show just to give them that platform to talk about their author journey. I think that's important that we continue to do that. And just not limit ourselves to, who we have as a guest on our show, like to be really open and welcoming to everybody, just to hear the story and give them that chance to speak. Because you never know in the future what seeds we're planting with them. So I think that's cool. But the calendar, keeping all of that up for you, you're gonna see how that calendar is gonna come in handy for you.
I know. Now when Sharon's here, I'm not gonna be able to do very many interviews.
Right. And that's why I don't I'll look at my calendar and when I send out the invitations, so when I'll send out a massive blast, would you like to be featured on the podcast? And I send it out to all of my sites. And then I'll start getting people on LinkedIn messaging me, people on Twitter, people on Instagram, and they'll go, oh, I have an author, I'm a publicist, I have somebody that I want you to meet. Or it'll just be the author themselves. They'll say, oh, I want to be on the podcast. How can we arrange it? That's when I'll give them a week window. I'll say, well, I have this week open because I'm only scheduling one interview a week. I'll give them those multiple days, and I'll give them any time after 4 p.m. Eastern because, I work all day, and that's kind of like my downtime. So I have to give up my sleep for the podcast interview before I start homeschooling. So I have that very short window when I schedule. And if they can't meet that week, then we have to really extend it out. I'm already pushed. I only have July left.
Wow.
Yep, July, because I only do one a week. July, I think, is my last month for interviews because I think August is going to be a whirlwind for me with the book getting ready to be released in September, that I really need to focus on my launch team. And so I'm like, then I'm going to be split brained. I'm going to be having to worry, all of this behind the scenes with the podcast, with interviews, or do I really focus on the launch of the book? So I think in August, I'm really going to be launching. I'm in that launch phase heavy.
Yeah, I need to get, I found on Twitter, somebody else is going to be reviewing one of my books, and I got to look and see which one. Because I was mentioned, it was there were 2 other books with me, but I think they were, I'm not sure which one because it didn't say in the tweet. But I'm like, oh, wow, this is really exciting. So I need to I'm going to have to, tomorrow at 5 o'clock, I've got an interview with David Calvert. I don't know if you've heard of the podcast, Car Thoughts with David.
Nope.
He's on Anchor. I'm sorry?
I was going to tell you, the only podcast I listen to political podcast, and I listen to Joe Rogan podcast.
I don't do political because my political views are different from other people's.
Right. And I don't talk about them, I don't talk about my political views on the podcast, but I don't listen to author podcasts. I have a small window. My husband will be listening to podcasts. My son listens to podcasts all the time. But I don't listen to writing podcasts. I told you before I need to get better at that. But tell me his name again.
David Calvert. His podcast is Car Thoughts with David. He's on Anchor too.
Yeah. I
am going to recommend that he listen to your podcast because he's one of these people. I know his audio is really low, and I'm gonna his audio is really low too.
He might not recognize it.
He may not, because he's in his car. He's in his car when he does his solo shows.
Yeah.
Once a week. He's doing it once a week now. He was doing it every day, but now he's had some health problems and stuff. But just pray for him, because
I am.
he was talking about he went to a film festival and he only sold 2 copies of his sci-fi book. Which, even 2 copies is 2 copies, and he still has ways to sell. I'm gonna give him some tips when I talk to him tomorrow at 5. Oh, that reminds me, I better put that on my calendar.
Do it. Put it on that calendar, Ann.
I will.
Get using that calendar. Okay.
I'm sorry?
I just found him on Anchor. Okay, so
he does all kinds of interviews. I mean, if you want to find him on LinkedIn too, he is under Dual Podcasts on LinkedIn. If you want to be interviewed on his or invite him on yours, he's pretty open to that, I think. But he also does interviews over the phone and over Skype.
Okay.
And I told him I was on Anchor, so I favorited him. So hopefully and I gave him my cell phone number. So hopefully we'll be able to pull it off. Because he does interviews with all kinds of people. He does. He had this one guy that works in a winery that was talking about women in history making wines and stuff.
Uh-huh.
Other coaches, like Say It something. I don't remember. You'd have to look back at the later episodes, but he's talked to several different people, and he talked to this one lady about her haircutting business and how she likes to give back. And he's based out of Charlotte.
North Carolina. Yeah, definitely going to pick up him. My friend is doing that. She has a podcast, and she's interviewing anybody, everybody, not just, she's not a writer yet. She just started a blog last year. So she is a writer, but she's not publishing yet. She wants to publish, but she's out there just interviewing the masses. And, I think that's really cool to give people that opportunity too, like to have a podcast where they can listen. You're an expert on the podcast world though, because you've been such a listener for so long.
Honey, I'm a podcast junkie.
Yeah. But that's good for you. That's good because then you kind of know what works and you know what doesn't work.
I know I was listening to the Bossed Up podcast with Emily Aries. She does short episodes, like 40 minutes or less. She does interviews on Monday, and then she does a Bossed Up tip, like a career conundrum or some other tip. She does that on Thursdays, and she has a hotline where she does her where people can leave voicemails about career conundrums or boss moves. And which I'm gonna listen to her podcast. She's probably got one. I think she did one today. I'm going to listen to her podcast, and I'm going to do her hotline, and I'm going to record a boss move about my podcast, because I think that's a boss move for a writer. And she says her motto is, we lift as we climb. And I love her. Wow. I found her through the Ask Win podcast, and I love what she does. I really do. She's actually got a Bossed Up book coming out next month.
But so you have the research behind you. Do you feel like that's going to make you like ahead of the game going into this podcast world?
Maybe. I don't know.
I think it will.
Possibly. I think it will. Plus, not only that, I'm sticking my neck out.
The thing is, we're trying new things.
Exactly.
And we can show everybody out there that, one, you can overcome a fear. You can overcome these obstacles, whatever they may be. You can work around them, and you can figure it out.
Right.
But it is, you stick your neck out there. You got to put yourself out there.
Mm-hmm. And I start when I finish. Even if I get frustrated, I walk away from it. I let it go for a little while, and then I come back. I'm always coming back.
That's that determination.
Yep.
And to me, so here's what I also love about podcasting or YouTube. You'll resonate with certain people. Mm-hmm. You'll get your own tribe. You'll get people that say, oh, Ann's my girl. I love Ann. And then they might listen to Jennifer and they'll be like, no, Jen Lowry writes, that's not my podcast. And they'll go to another one, and then they'll find valuable information from them on another one. That's what I love about social media, is that we're not going to resonate with everybody, but we may pull in someone new and then they become a part of our community or author life. If it wasn't for the podcast, and I wouldn't have met you, I wouldn't have met Pooja, I wouldn't have met Daniel and Don, and Kay. The people that I have interviewed.
Oh my gosh, I wouldn't have met Kay if it weren't for me being on your launch team.
I mean, for real. Just major, yes.
I was blessed by that interview with Kay. I'm like, you know what? She is one I want to connect with too.
Kay is lovely.
Oh my gosh, she is. She's, and I think what she has is an autoimmune disorder.
And what I love about Kay is that she's now bold in telling her story. And the platform of the podcast allowed her to do that first before then carrying it out to the church meeting that she's going to be a speaker at.
Wow. You know what? I want to eventually interview her for my podcast.
She's awesome. She's amazing.
I want to get her on my podcast because did she do you through,
we connected through Anchor.
Okay, thank you.
And Pooja too. Okay, Pooja, I'm reading her book right now, so I got Pooja's book. I'm holding it up in my little screen here. Pooja is just the best encourager, cheerleader. I love Pooja. She's a great sister in Christ. And I'm telling you, without the podcast, I would have been so isolated.
I'm going to tell you, even if I don't make it to church, my podcast and Happy Renewal Year is my church. Because, I mean, I wish I had Happy Renewal Year last year when I went through that when I separated from my last husband, and I felt guilty for making that same mistake again. But you know what? Like I said, later on, after we get done with Zoom and we get on Anchor, or I call you to tell you this, you're going to be like, yeah, you had an encourager. Because, yeah, oh man, I want to tell you so bad, but with people watching on YouTube, I don't want to make people feel crazy.
But I'm just happy you're reading Happy Renewal Year, because I love the devotionals that I'm self-publishing. Like, I always feel like I'm going to self-publish those. I don't think that I would do, that's just my thing. I want to be able to put one out every December. I'm doing the author challenge one in December.
I got to get that one. I got the Everyday Teacher Challenge. I don't know why, because I'm not a teacher, but I wanted to read it. And there may be some things that I can do in my because I want to be a writing mentor. And I asked a friend of mine who actually went to the Georgia Academy for the Blind like I did. I asked him to help me do some research and find out who I need to talk to find out if I can work with any of the students. But maybe the Everyday Teacher Challenge, I may have something in that. There may be something in that for me too. Because I do that for, writers.
So in the future, I want to create webinars.
Don't ask me anything about that because I don't know. So
I have a connection already who is going to be coming back on the show, who's doing webinars, and she's been trained in webinars. And I'm like, all right, so you learn everything. She's going through her first ones now, and I'm excited to do it. And I'm actually going to be as a participant now in webinars. Have you ever done any of the author webinars?
Yeah, and there's one thing, it was kind of difficult for me to do the Q&A because if you got a slow connection, you may have a little bit of a problem. Well, I had a boat anchor for a laptop anyway, so.
Yeah.
Anyway, because I had a use of RAM on my Toshiba. Like I said, it became a boat anchor I had that one since 2010. That was the first one I bought. Anyway, but one of the things they're going to do at the end of the webinar is they're going to try to get you to pay for their software.
Ah.
Yeah, so watch out for that. But there are some really interesting things. They're free webinars, and then you get on their mailing list.
Yeah, I signed up for 2, because I'm on spring break this week, I signed up for 2 author webinars, because one, I need to learn more about. It's like advanced secrets of publicity.
That's why I do author podcasts.
And then the other one I signed up for is the very next day, and it's like what to do if you have a book event, how to handle yourself at a book event. And they've done hundreds of book events, and I just want to hear their wisdom and expertise. So I'm going to start trying some webinars and just be a participant. And then I'm going to say, okay, Lord, maybe it's my turn. Let's get on here and do some webinars and share out tips and journeys along the way. But I want to do that next year. That's like my long-term plan. I want to get the author challenge up. I want to get some more experiences under my belt, and then turn in 2020 for webinars.
But girl, you keep throwing out poetry challenges, and I took them up.
You know, poetry anthology.
What did you think of that creative dreaming little? I wanted to write it as a song. I heard the melody, but it sounds kind of repetitive to me. But yeah, when I looked at it again, I'm like, I don't need to change that.
Yep, you don't need to change it at all. I love that one.
Yeah.
My thing about like doing the poetry now, I've started to make the image behind it, and I've been putting it on Instagram. I've been able to put it on my blog, and I think I'm getting a lot more hits when I put up the poetry pieces. Like I'm getting more subscribers with me posting up my work.
You know what? I'm getting more likes from my poetry too. I can't do the images because I don't. I could probably try to do the WordPress library, but I'm not really skilled at that. I mean, but I can't do images with my poems. But still, just the poems alone, I got like 8 or 9 likes.
Yeah.
I'd have to look back at WordPress. I got so many likes on my poetry.
I'm telling you, Ann, you got it. You got to keep doing it. I'm going to keep challenging you now.
Keep kicking my butt into gear. Keep kicking my butt into gear because I need it. It's not only you, but like I said, I have another little surprise in my back pocket. Just teasing. I don't mean it that way, but still. And when I want to say, no, I can't do this, I get this, don't tell me you can't because you proved to me you can.
That's that Holy Spirit. That Holy Spirit voice. Yeah.
Yeah, and another thing I'll tell you later.
But tell about let's see. Change how long file history. Your file history drive is full. I'm reading out what just popped up. So it's saying reduce the time. I'm wondering if it's our 40 minutes. Have we had 40 minutes and it cut us off? Or what does this error mean down here? I got an error. I know it says with the free version of Zoom, you get 40 minutes.
Hold on, I'm tapping.
Yeah, we probably reached our limit.
Well, yeah, maybe. I don't know. I mean, I know it says you can have unlimited meetings one-on-one and then up to 40 minutes for what I read, but I don't know. It may have cut off the recording, but I mean,
I think it cut us off, which is cool because then what we can do is if it cuts us off, we can go back in and say, oh, there's a lesson learned, get a timer and set it up so that way we can have like a 5-minute wrap up, like what if we learned through this process kind of thing.
Yeah. Exactly. But you know what? We can also do that at the end of our podcast. We can record a segment at the end of our podcast about that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like we can go back in and make one of those. So here's what Anchor does. Anchor tells me that it only will allow you to do 1-hour segments.
Baloney.
It's not, because I can do an hour and 7 minutes and it didn't cut off, but I had a fear that it was going to cut off. So like, for example, when Don and I were talking, I love Don too. The letting people down. He was a cemetery director and he was in the military. I love his book. I had him on the show. And when Donna Lisi and I were recording, I kept looking at the little timer in the corner and I was so scared it was going to cut off. And I was like, okay, I'm going to call you right back. Well, then one day I forgot to look and I was recording. I can't remember who it was with. And we just,
that one interview with Kay where you were still recording at the end of it, it was like an hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah. And it didn't cut off.
No, it didn't. And I kind of, I'm going to tell you now that we're not recording. Now
I think we're still recording.
Oh, we are?
Yeah.
I heard a bit of a conversation I probably wasn't supposed to hear.
Yeah, you were the other person. So this is the inside joke. So you're in on it now. You and Kay are the only two people that heard it.
I'm like, uh-oh. Uh-oh, this ain't
Because it showed two people had listened as soon as I put it up there, and it was Kay and it said one other person, and I was like, well, Lord, whoever that one other person is, then they know that my business has all been all out there for the world.
It was me. I'm like,
was hilarious.
Jen and Eli are getting into an argument there.
And it was hilarious. We were also talking about bathroom situations. We had a bathroom situation.
Yeah, because one of your toilets wasn't working.
Yes.
Like,
oh my gosh, it was hilarious. It was so funny. And
it was.
And Kay was actually crying. Like, she was crying. She was laughing so hard. Because Kay caught it. And Kay, I'm sitting here eating with the family, and I get this message from Kay, and she goes, did you know that all that's there? I'm like, oh my God. I start running. Like, oh my gosh, no. And I'm editing it. And so by the time I edited it, let's say that twice, I put it up and it was completely nobody knows but you and Kay. And so, yeah, that was cool.
Like, something went down.
So what happened with that day, this is the first time it ever happened. And you know I've been doing Anchor since May of last year. So I didn't know what was up with my Anchor. What it was doing is it just kept swirling. So like I saw this little swirl, which I thought it meant it was processing the audio. Because it was an hour and 20 minutes, right? I thought it was longer. Maybe it was going to cut off, and I was worried it wasn't going to save. And I was, carrying my phone around with me wherever I went because, I upload it right away.
Yeah.
So I finally hit the X button, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to lose Kay's recording because something's wrong with Anchor. It wasn't. It was still recording, and I didn't know it. And the whole screen changed. Like, it just showed this little swirl on there. And so, yeah, that was hilarious. And I was like, Lord, help me, Jesus. But, hey, we live and learn.
I noticed one thing, too. When you're doing your interviews, you sound far away from the mic.
It's probably because I turn my volume down on my phone because I can hear myself very loud. So that's my problem then. I need to make sure my settings, because I will purposefully cut it down, because what happens when I'm holding a phone, I sound that the person back at me sounds extremely loud in my ear.
Yeah.
And I'm like, am I that loud to them? As on the recording, am I overpowering? So I'll actually cut my volume down on my phone because it's so loud in my ear.
Yeah, and I didn't know if it was because of that or if it was because of Anchor. Because
I think it's me. I think it's me on my
when I heard and a lot of people don't listen to their own interviews. I do. This is what I can do to improve.
Well, I'm proud of you for that, Ann. If we're still recording on here and everybody's hearing this is another tip. Listen to yourself if you can. I can't listen to myself. I just can't do it.
A lot of people can't.
I can't watch my videos again. I can't listen to myself. I feel like if I do, I'm going to second guess everything. I'm going to say, I should have said it this way.
Now I can't listen to myself more than once. After that first listen through, I can't, No, I'm like, okay, I am sick of hearing my own voice.
I actually just cringe when I hear myself. I'm like, oh my gosh, somebody's actually out there listening to me. I sound like a country hit.
No, it's not me. It's not that. For me, when I listen to a recording, I'm going to tell you something. I do not sound like me. When I'm listening to a recording, my voice sounds totally different from what I hear when I'm talking.
I say that about myself, and then people talk about me in real life about how country I am. So I think
it ain't just the country. It's like I sound like I'm like, is that really me? And I was like that when I was a kid because I was always recording myself on tape, and I'm like, I don't sound like myself.
Right. Like, I know.
People hear when they hear my voice. Do I sound like that when I'm talking to other people? I'm like, wow.
How did you, when you listened to your first recording on the Anchor record? Did you stop yourself? Did you repeat? Did you constantly record yourself to get it perfect, or did you go with your first one?
I practiced it out loud. I'm in the camper right now until my house gets done, but I practiced that out loud in the camper first. I practice it first to myself before I record, and then I do all that in my brainstorming. And then I'm like, I was praying. I'm like, Lord, I planned this out. I practiced it out, but doing it, I am so nervous.
But you couldn't tell. Your voice was not shaking. You were
No,
not.
I was stumbling a little bit.
Huh?
I was stumbling a little bit.
I didn't hear it. Maybe it's because my Holy Spirit received it. But
Yeah.
I didn't hear it. I thought it
Once
was.
I got started, I was fine. It was just, hey, everybody. Welcome to my official author podcast. I'm like, okay, I say what I'm going to start, and then I don't start it exactly like that. I'm like, and get it together, you know?
Well, I know on my way to work, there are times when I'm in the middle of a podcast and then I start getting my teacher friends calling me. Like, it will cut it off. So I'm going to give you that as a tip too.
Well, that's a good thing because then you're not recording the conversation.
Well, what ends up happening though, and I don't know because I get nervous. So I'm in the car. I'll be on my Anchor. I'm recording. I'll have people starting to call me. And so I have to hit save recording really fast. So I just tell people I never pick up the phone. I always end the call, save the recording, name it part one, or whatever. I'll name it something and I'll save it and then I'll call a person back. I will never click accept call because I don't want to lose all of the stuff that I did and I don't know where it will go. I don't know if it holds or what. I've never practiced that with Anchor, but that's been my routine.
I think it does hold until you get out of the app or else you tell it to save. Because you can tell it to save or delete, It'll probably save it in the library, and then you can go back and search the library on your computer.
Yeah. I ended up just telling my friends in the morning because with me being a literacy coach, I might have another literacy coach call me in the morning. I might have a teacher that wants to meet with me for that day and they want to see, what am I doing that day? Or I might have somebody who wants to talk to me and it's 6:45 in the morning, but they know that they can't meet with me during the school day. So they'll call me and they'll ask me a question or I'll give them some advice, some teaching advice or something. I'm just to the point now where I'm like, guys, I'm going to hang up on you and then know I'm recording the podcast, and then I'm going to call you right back. So I just give you that tip that any kind of noise that comes through, it might pop in on your podcast. Like just it might
actually not with the phone, not the iPhone. It doesn't. Now, if you had an Android phone, it would, but with the iPhone, it does not. No, because I've been doing that. I've recorded I had this other social media app called Varel. For it's supposed to be you can get blind and sighted people can get on there. It's basically a voice, a social media by voice where you record voice messages when you accept a call. I don't know about Anchor, but I know for that, if you get a call, it will not record the call. It'll cut you off and then go right back to the recording.
Okay.
Yeah. And then and I do know that when I've tapped through, and even with Voxer, I've used my, gone around trying to find what I need for voiceover. It wouldn't record the voiceover. But I know Anchor, when I'm doing my recordings on Anchor and I'm trying to find the stop button, you hear the voiceover, but it's very light in the background.
Oh, okay.
I know.
But you did figure it out though, because you do a quick stop.
Yeah. My speech is fast, and because my speech is fast, I think fast. So that's what helps me to move it pretty quickly.
I know with any kind of technology or any kind of app, like there is going to be some learning curve. Like even today with the Zoom, like I did Zoom for my dissertation. I had to do Zoom conferences with my professors, but having to put it up on YouTube, I've never done that before. Trying to download it for Anchor. We did it that one time in my office, but I haven't done it since. So I think anytime we try something new, it's going to be a learning curve.
Yeah, and it can be frustrating if you don't figure it out, if you can't figure it out.
The good thing is I watched 2 videos this morning before you and I actually got on, and it was using Zoom for podcasting. And they were saying, go into your settings, make sure that you allow the other the other person that's joining in to be able to maneuver their microphone. Like there was a lot of settings buttons that I did not know about. So I think that YouTube is a good valuable tool for us, like when we are trying these apps out, seeing what other people are saying, how they do things.
Yeah, and that's why I didn't do the podcast until now, because I found this other, her name is Kelani, Kelani, I think, Kelani Black. And she was the one that told me, she sent me the link to the podcast, her podcast. And because I saw her on saying something on the writing community about something. And then that's when I started following her, and she said, I'm a blind author with a podcaster. And I'm like, okay, how do you do your podcast? And she gave me her Anchor link. I said, do you have trouble with Anchor? She said, no, it's totally accessible. She does solo podcasts.
Right. And so with the interviews, we're going to see how this works today with Zoom, because when I was looking at the reviews, it says that Zoom compared to Skype was easier because you didn't have a lot of connection issues. It was, when I was looking at Skype platform, it was saying connection is an issue. You've got a lot of pausing there, and it's just awkward with Skype, and people were having issues. And so they're saying they're finding more success with the Zoom. But so the Zoom audio, like you can decide if you want to do audio or if you want to do the video. I'm thinking I'm going to try to do more videos in the future. You think you're just going to do audio Zoom, or are you going to do like what me and you were doing right now?
I'm going to try to do video Zoom, because I'm going to put, when I do my thing, I'm going to put start with video, because now for blind people that I interview, it probably will be just audio, because they'll probably call in, because there's a phone number that they can call into for the Zoom conference.
Okay.
Yeah, they'll probably just call in, so I'll probably just do the audio, and I can still upload. I know podcasters can still upload audio on YouTube.
Audio? Yeah, and what do they do? Just make a thumbnail that goes in the front?
I guess they do the slide or the artwork. I don't know. However, I'm being blind. I don't really know how they do that. But
Let me research it, and I'll tell you what I find out.
There's the Author Stories podcast with Hank Garner.
Yes.
He's on YouTube. Look and see how he does it, because I don't think he does videos. Because he does Skype. He uses Skype, but he has Skype credit. So he uses Skype on his device. He uses Skype, and then sometimes he'll record phone calls through Skype, and sometimes it'll be Skype calls.
Okay.
Look and see how he does it, because I don't think he does video. Now, the Wordslinger podcast with Kevin Tomlinson, he does video for not only for the interviews, but he does video for his little episode, solo segment.
Oh, he's actually recording himself just doing solos?
Yeah, he doesn't do a full solo episode. He'll do the intro. He has somebody doing it, he had somebody before the guy passed away. He had him do a Wordslinger intro, and then he does an intro segment.
I've seen that one. I've seen that Wordslinger videos. I've watched him before, because he had a really good show. I put him on a like. I think I subscribed to him.
Kevin Tomlinson. Yeah, he represents Draft to Digital, but like I said, I can't use that one. But anyway, I've listened to the Wordslinger podcast too. He uses his own URL. So a lot of these people who don't use Anchor are paying to produce to post their stuff everywhere. They're paying to post a lot. I'm like, no, why aren't you using Anchor? You can pay for that.
But maybe they feel like there might be some behind the scenes, like we don't know, like maybe they're getting different sponsorships, or I'm pulling up one now with Hank Garner, and I'm seeing exactly what you're talking about. So what he's done, he's uploaded it, and he just uses a picture of like the person that he's interviewing. So for this one, he's interviewing somebody named Lisa Jewell, and what he's got here is just a picture of the author or the person he's interviewing, the number of the episode, 532, And then that's what's there. And he's just uploaded the audio and it says, listen in. See?
Yeah, I remember that episode. I was listening to it on Apple Podcasts. I would not get that Apple Podcasts app. I know you can leave ratings and reviews there, but that app is so clunky. I don't like it. But yeah, I wanted you to see how that was done. And
that's how they're doing it, and now that I know that, and now that I know that I can download the episodes, I can put up this summer all of my podcasts.
Yeah.
That I've done, I don't know if I'm going to do all 200. That's a lot. But I could upload some key ones, the guest interview ones.
The guest interviews and the tips.
Yeah.
The ones I would do.
Yeah.
The marketing tips, the writing tips that you give, the challenges. I would do those. Because some of those, like some of them in the car, you may not want to.
Yeah, because they're just like author journey, what's happening today. And
yeah,
people don't care about that unless they've been with me from the beginning and they just listen because
they're
bored.
People request it. You can do it later on. But like the tips, the challenges, the guest interview, you could do that and do the art image for your podcast.
Right.
What was that?
Oh, and they're making coffee.
Oh, I had my coffee a little earlier.
So that's something that can be on my to-do list this summer is to go back in because I didn't realize they were doing that. Like recording, downloading it, and then just uploading it to listen. And I can make those Canva images because I already have the Canva images because, I use the thumbnails where I ask for the picture. So you know how you put on your framework that you're asking for the bio, the picture?
Yeah. I can't do the image for the podcast unless I have like a profile photo I can put up there. But I can do other images on the blog. I know how to do that. I'm not sure how to do it on YouTube. I'd have to play around with YouTube and see how I can do that.
It says custom thumbnail. You'll see it when you're in the editing of the videos. And it'll say, put up a custom thumbnail.
Okay, like I said, I'll have to look at it, see the accessibility of it, because you can create a video or post, and I can upload the audio and then upload. Now, I might try that with the interview that you did with me.
Well, how about so I can send you the thumbnail that I used for Intervision, the interview piece that I used, and let me get on today on Canva and create the thumbnail for you and I doing this silly one that we're learning how to use Zoom for the first time.
Yeah.
And I'll make that one and send it to you, and then you can try to do custom thumbnails on YouTube and then use it, and I'll name it so that way you'll be able to find it as a JPEG and upload it into there.
Yeah, if you send it to me as an attachment, I can just open the file and make a copy, because I got so many pictures from so many bloggers or so many, people that I've featured on my blog. I've got all these pictures, so I have like a full thing I have a bunch of pictures on my external. I'm keeping them though because I may use them, in another, like if they want me to promote it again or they want to be on the podcast, I may use those pictures again.
Are you going to do book reviews on the podcast?
I am.
I got tons of hits on book reviews, tons of listens on book reviews.
Yeah, and I might see I've got a friend of mine. I might, I've got a couple friends. I wanted to get my daughter on there to try to get her because she's a reluctant reader. And I'm like, okay, she's reading this book called Christina's Ghost. I'm like, why don't you get on my podcast and review it? She's like, no, I don't want to.
Let her see, because Sam is 11. Sam has been on there reviewing some of the books that we've been reading for homeschool.
I know, I heard that.
And he loves doing it. He loves it.
If you hadn't have said he was 11, I would have thought he was like 14.
I think it's because of the homeschool experience that he's around his 16-year-old brother.
Not only that, his voice has changed.
Yeah.
Because I was watching some of your videos and he was in one of the videos riding a bike, and I'm like, and then I heard the review that y'all did, the podcast episode y'all did when he was reviewing that, and I'm like, he does not sound 11.
He's going to love that when he wakes up today. And you've made his day today. He'll go around strutting, thinking he sounds older. He'll say, yes, that's what all my gamer friends say. They say I'm older. He has an older crew that he talks to every day on the games. They're like, one's 13, one's 14. And so he has that peer group too on his gaming. But
I've got a book that he would love.
What is it?
Sully Street by D.P. Lyons. He's an author friend of mine who just passed away Friday night. He was, yeah, I know. And I thought it was going to hit me a lot harder than it did, but you know what? After reading the updates and everything and praying for him, I kind of expected it. It was like the Holy Spirit said, yeah, that's what he was supposed to, that, you know, that it was his time. And I expected it. It wasn't as I prayed for his family and I put his family on the prayer list at my church. I didn't grieve like I thought I would. I mean, he gave me some, he kind of built me up when I was going out to Mississippi to see a guy I was dating at the time. And I wanted to go out there to meet him in person, and I was a bit scared, and I was talking to Dean. And so now, yeah, Sully Street. He writes.
I got it. I pulled it up on, is it fantasy? Because somehow Sam has wrapped his heart and mind completely.
It's not fantasy. It's like a 1973. It does have a bit of horror in there because they do go into a haunted house. But I mean, it's not like bad horror. It's family like horror. They find the ghosts in the house. So it's got a bit of paranormal in it.
Okay, I'm saving it.
Yeah. Even if Sam doesn't like it, it may be something you might want to read.
Yeah, because you know I'm the paranormal.
It's a clean book. It was like set in 1973. I didn't know that until I read the end of it. But I like some of his things he could have edited a little bit. But I like his writing style. I will tell you so that you're prepared. He does put the time of day that the chapter took place, that the incident in the chapter took place. He does do a timestamp at the end of each chapter.
I think that's cool, though. There's another author that does that. Scott Rankin does that with the Nixia series. He gives the exact time and everything and the date.
And when I mean, he didn't do the date. He just gave the time, and it was like he did it day by day, or like morning, afternoon, and evening. And then it was like day by day. It's kind of long, I will tell you that, but it wasn't. But he kept me engaged.
Right.
Which is kind of like. And what the way it was written, some of the chapters end like, and I think he does one scene per chapter, and it ends like a movie scene. Like you see the scene fading, the bird at the end of a scene, the birds chirping at the end. It's like it fades away, like a dream does. I'm
hoping that when you get to read Sweet Potato Jones, when I get my advanced reader copy, you know I'm sending you one.
Yeah, hopefully you can send it to an ebook format.
Yes, I'm hoping it's going to go that way. And when we'll get advanced reader copies ebook, I don't know what the publishing company, like how they do that. You know, this is my first year with traditional publishing. So we'll learn it together as we go.
Yeah, you're not going to have as much control though.
But I'm ready for you. I'm ready to hear what you think about Sweet Potato Jones. I'm ready and I'm nervous at the same time.
I'd be nervous because I don't review. I've come to the point where if there's a book that I don't like or that I don't, and this is not just you. I'm not saying it. I think I would like it. I read your stuff. I read your blogs and stuff. But what I'm saying is when I do book reviews, I make sure it's one that's going to resonate with me. Those are the ones that I review.
Right. Yeah, because I don't feel like if there's a book that I don't like, I'm not going to get on and blast the author.
No.
I'm going to say the things that I do find valuable out of the book. That's like even when I'm doing like a show or I'm preparing, there's always good redeeming qualities in people's work. And it breaks my heart when I'm on these groups and I see these people that are putting their work out there and they're getting 1-star reviews, they're getting 2-star reviews, and some of the reviews are just brutal.
But a lot of people don't read the reviews because authors don't read the reviews because sometimes unless they've got that thick skin, because sometimes that'll discourage them. And that's why I would suggest if you're going to leave reviews, at least no less than 3 stars.
I agree. Because what I like, but Anne, the books that I like, you may not like them, but we just have different taste. And to say, well, I hated this book. It did this, this, and this. I'm like, wow. Some of the reviewers are like, whoo. So I'm at the point now. I know Sweet Potato's about to get out there in the world, and I got to have that thick skin because I know it's going to happen. I mean, it probably happens to every single person in the universe.
Yeah, I was nervous about mine and I'm like, and I get discouraged too when I see my sales numbers start I look at my sales reports and I'm like, okay, I put this out there and nobody's got it. What is going on? And I'm like, now I realize why I'm not getting as many sales. Yeah, I need to do events. I'm gonna try to do getting transportation for me may be a bit of a problem.
But you can overcome it, I believe.
Yeah, I just gotta find the right person to take me to these places. That's why I'm starting local.
Right.
Local, I can get the bus system. I can get the Wilcox County Transit system to take me to these local bookstores and libraries and stuff.
Right, and I think local is really good though, because then you get the practice within your community.
Yeah, and then once you get to know people, I say, what did you think of the this is another question too. What did you think of the promotional letter, the marketing letter I did?
I thought it was good.
Okay, because I didn't know if you thought there might be any changes that need to be made.
No, I saw when I looked at the podcast framework, there was a couple of places where I just wanted to add a period. There was just a couple of places. I'm gonna send it back to you though.
Okay.
But no, the marketing one was good.
Okay. Because I'm gonna send that to my other the people that worked with me to get the business started. The employment specialists I work with. I'm gonna interview them too because Marty Reed is not only is a business manager for Stinson and Associates in Atlanta, he's also president of one of the Atlanta libraries. So I can talk to him about systems and how people get books into these systems, and what would he recommend for authors as what would he recommend for authors as
the approach.
How to approach libraries and stuff like that, because he helped me with that first book signing. I still have those photos. I haven't put them up on a blog post yet, but when I do the book signing, I'm going to do the show notes in a blog post, and I'm going to put that up. I'll say these are the photos from the very first book signing I did back in October, because I didn't know exactly how to do those, but I do have the photos. I just haven't put them up yet. And I'm going to add those to the show notes on my blog of the podcast. See, this is why I listen to podcasts and look at what they're doing on their websites. Not all of them do I do that with, but the author stories.
Yeah.
I tried to get on his show. I've tried, and my marketing assistant, Patty Fletcher, she said she sent out a letter to him with no results. But yet I can email him back and forth, and I'm on his Facebook group, and we're friends on Facebook. But I think he's looking for the best of the best. And when you do Sweet Potato Jones, when Sweet Potato Jones comes out, or right before it comes out, I would go ahead and approach him, go to his website and click on the Be a Guest and approach him to get an interview for Sweet Potato Jones, because that's going to really get you.
I need to do that. So I know that I need to go on, find different podcasters, let them know about the book coming out, and see if I can go ahead and get scheduled for September for interviews. That's one step I haven't done yet.
Publicity letters. Do you have letter for podcasters?
No.
You don't want to do that?
I mean, I want to do it, but I haven't done it yet.
No, what I'm saying is create one for podcasters, or get Tanya to create you one for podcasters, and give her the link to Hank Garner and some of these podcasts, and let her get you in there, because that's something she can do for you. So
it's odd that I'm trying to interview everybody under the sun, but I've never thought of myself actually being interviewed.
I did. That's how I got started. That's what gave me the idea for podcast, because I started reaching out to people. When Charles asked me, I reached out to. I was on In Perspective last year, which is a podcast by a blind podcaster, and his name is Bob Branco. Bob Branco and Alan Wetzel do this thing called In Perspective. If you go to brancoevents.com, he hasn't gotten it out on. He's gotten it out on a couple of blind-related radio reading services, and he does it over Skype. His co-host records him over Skype, and I was telling him, I emailed him about Anchor. And what I may do is once I get my podcast going, get a few episodes up, I may see if I can schedule another interview with him and talk about that.
Good.
And talk about that on Eyes on Success too, about using Anchor for podcasting. Because, you know, the more tips, the more people I can share that with, the better.
And once you let them know how accessible it is or how you can overcome any accessibility issues on it, and you'll have proof of that by completing the episodes, then that can give other people courage to go out and share their voice on there.
Exactly. That's the whole point. And then we'd have more podcasters and podcasters with disabilities too.
Exactly. And when you were on the show with me, I think that was one of your initial questions. You were like, I've got to research podcasting. I want to do this. I got to find a good platform. I don't know if Anchor's it. I don't know what it is, but then you went after it. But if it wouldn't have been for that other podcaster already out there talking about Anchor and you hooking up with them on Twitter and understanding that it is accessible for the blind, would you have even went forward, or do you think that was another catalyst for you that the Lord put that?
No, I would have went forward, but I would have talked to Wynn Charles because she's helps people launch their podcast.
Okay.
I would have initially talked to her first but then when I discovered that Anchor was accessible, I'm like, because I wanted to talk to Wynn, I'm like, I need to email her assistant and get her to help me do this. I need to do that. I'm like, no. I kept getting this. No.
You can do it yourself kind of thing?
Yeah, it was like, no, wait, is what I got, wait. And then I found out that Anchor is accessible. And then I used Google Chrome for it. And there are still some things I have to learn, but I can do using my headphones to blot out the screen reader. I didn't even know if you heard the screen reader as I was tabbing through.
No.
That's interesting. Anyway, so, but what I did, and then when I found out, that's when I felt the Holy Spirit, like, yes, this is your platform.
Good.
I was so excited. That's when I started planning and brainstorming. And
not sleeping.
Exactly. Because I had that dream about the airplane flights. I'm like, okay, Anchor is I'm moving up. I'm flying out of my comfort zone. I think that was another thing too.
I think it is too. And with us recording ourselves, making the video, and now we're going to put it up there, I'm going to be so happy to always have this memory that my first podcast interview type back and forth conversation was with Ann.
We can do, and like I said, I think we need to do, even if we do them on Anchor or Zoom, depending on which platform we use. No matter how we do that, I think we ought to do some co-hosting type stuff too.
It would be fun. I think we should too.
Yeah, dual episodes.
Because those I don't have to like for me, if it's us having conversations and having the author conversations, I don't have to prepare for those.
No.
And so I can schedule 2 in a week if it's that way. Like I have 2 this week, and it's because I've got Pooja tomorrow, and Pooja's going to be talking all about how she self-published The Unveiling Jesus, and it is so professional looking. Like it is gorgeous.
She does resource links. This one you're going to want to put on your blog, because I'm going to grab the show notes. I'm going to grab the links, and I want to find out how to contact her, because I want to do my podcast, and I'm going to hold on, and if she has any resource links, I'm going to ask her to send them to me, because I'm going to do a show notes thing. I did a little show notes thing for ours, just a little brief one. I'm going to edit it, and I put your links up there, because I grabbed them from your blog post. And then I searched for your URL. Your URL. And I realized how they do it, even though my podcast says Ann Harrison Barnes, because at the time I didn't know what I was going to call it. That's why I did it that way. And now I can't change it on Anchor. But when I do my YouTube videos, I don't have to have them the same title. My YouTube videos, I could call, even though my channel is Ann's Music 1, my title for my video could be Inspirational Journeys Presents.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to go back and do. I'm going to go back and rename all of the videos that I started doing, like author tips and like the website, do this, do that. I'm going to say Jen Lowry Writes at the very beginning of every one of them.
Yeah, Jen Lowry Writes Presents, and I could do Inspirational Journeys Presents.
Now, when I started doing the podcast, a lot of podcasters are doing episode numbers.
Yeah, some are, but I mean, you can, and it shows up on Anchor. I kind of did that because it asks for that. I started doing that a little bit, playing with that. But if you do that, and that way, if you do that, you can keep up with it, and you can even do it in seasons.
Yeah, I did season 1 was 2018, season 2 is 2019, and I thought about maybe going back and doing seasons and episodes and all of that and adding and adapting the names, and then I just kind of gave up. I was like, I've got too many episodes at this point. I've got, I might be at 250, 270. I don't even know how many I have at this point. I've got so many. I'm like, I can't be going back, and I got other things to do.
I don't know how Hank Gardner keeps up with that.
He probably does it every time he does it. He keeps it on point. Whereas me, I'm in the car and I get sidetracked. Oh, I just got a battery in my computer. That was a computer ding saying my battery's getting ready to die.
I had to plug mine up too.
So what I want to do is let us go ahead and close up since it's 10. Let us close up this one and let's download them and let's see if we can get this stuff to work.
Okay, just share it with me, and then I will, I know you can't send it to me. Do you have Dropbox?
I do not. Now, Eli can show me how to use it tonight when he gets home.
Yeah, get Dropbox, and then that way we can create a folder together, and that way with videos and audio and stuff, we can just share stuff back and forth.
He'll know how to use it. So I've never used it before. I've only used Google Drive.
But it's free, and it's actually easy. All you have to do, you go to the website, you set it up. Let Eli show you, and then once you download it, you just copy paste stuff into the folder.
Okay. So I'm not going to edit this video. I'm just giving you a heads up. I'm throwing it up on YouTube, and I'm not watching it. I'm not going to go back and look at it. You know me?
I'll do the same thing because I will probably not even edit. I don't even know how to trim audio. Okay, I don't know how in the world to do that. I cannot figure out how to do that.
Well, I'm just going to let you know if it ever happens to you and then you get those conversations added to the end of your Anchor, you're going to learn how to trim really quick.
Stop recording before it happens.
Yeah, maybe you should do that, Ian. Do that.
Yeah, because I'm not, no, not going to get caught like that. No.
Well, thank God I know that it was just you and Kay. I feel so much better now because I did not know who that other person was out there listening to my family drama.
At least you know how to deal with it because a lot of the crap I dealt with was not as peaceable as y'all's was.
Yeah, we're very peaceable discussion makers through problems and conflict. And I know that it was like, I'm listening to a soap opera. I'm like, oh my God.
It was perfect.
I know, it was hilarious. All right.
If he had started yelling at you, then I would definitely have to say something.
Oh, no, we don't argue like that. Yeah, but it was hilarious.
It was.
And the whole bathroom thing. And poor Sam. Sam got blamed for everything. I'll tell you all about that one later. It is hilarious. The story is absolutely hilarious. And I'm just so glad that it actually happened because then Kay has a really good memory of dealing, having to talk about some very difficult issues and then getting to laugh like she did after it was over. I'm like, I'll take it for the team. I'll take one for the team. Okay. I can handle it, but I can't tell you how red my face was and how I was running through the house trying to edit Anchor. But all right, so we're going to see how this works. And we can just now do our close off. And do your close off. I like you want to practice it?
I challenge you today to go out there and read to get inspired. Write something inspiring and share your creation with the world. because when you've touched one life, you've touched 1,000. Thanks for listening. Have a blessed day.
Awesome, Ann. All right, I'll talk to you later.
All right.
Bye. Hugs.
I'll call you and tell you what I want to tell you.
Okay, love you. Bye.
Love you too. Bye.